So, Ryan, where do we find you in life at this time?
Mountain Home, Arkansas, man, coaching high school football. It's always been my second goal in life.
Is that right?
First was to play in the NFL. Oh, yeah.
Really? You always thought of yourself someday being a coach?
Oh, I knew I was going to coach at some point. I mean, every one of my uncles have been a coach at some point or another, and now they're retired, and I got a few cousins in it, so it's something we like to do.
So you grew up around coaching. How did you grow up? Tell me a little bit about your football background and how you were raised.
Yeah, well, I grew up. My dad was a coach since I was born over in Salem, Arkansas. So I've always wanted to be the ball boy or be on the sidelines or be part of it. And it's just something I've always loved.
And it was just something you paid attention to and understood at a young age?
Yeah, I used to like the mental part of the game, like the X's and O's part as well as the other part. It wasn't just about going out there and try to be more athletic than everybody because I wasn't. So I had to be a little smarter than everybody else.
What were you like as a kid? Well, like physically
big and goofy and lanky.
Really?
Big and lanky and goofy, fat, everything. I finally grew into my body eventually.
So at a younger age, was it a little socially awkward for you?
No, I was always the one that was in the middle of everything. I don't mind that part of it. I didn't care what I looked like, still don't. I am who I am.
So were you bigger than most kids at a young age?
Definitely. My mom, I don't know if she still has them, but she's had these pictures for classes every year. I was always the tallest one ever since kindergarten by a lot. It was by a lot, not just a little bit. So I've always kind of had that height thing going for me.
I guess in some way that helped you be used to it.
Yeah, I mean, I always felt like I stood out no matter what, and all the older kids always would think I was their age when I was 2-3 years younger.
What kind of sports did you play?
Basketball and baseball were my first loves because they didn't have Pee Wee football where I was at the time. And I played baseball pretty much spring, summer, fall. And then once we got to fourth grade, I finally got to play basketball. And so that's always been my favorite sport to play. Now, I wasn't great at it. It's just one of my favorite sports to play.
When did you realize you had an arm, a really strong arm?
I mean, to me, it was always what I was used to. So I didn't really consider, because I didn't know any better. I knew the other kids couldn't throw it as well as me, but I was like, I just throw the ball a lot more than them, so everything was just different.
Well, at some point, did you start to get attention from your arm, people saying things?
Yeah, I mean, in 8th grade, going into my 9th grade year in high school, I was pretty much the emergency backup in case something happened to the starter. Well, my 9th grade year, he didn't start the first 3 games. I didn't start either. I came in. They wanted to kind of dip my toe in the water, so to speak. And then my first start came in the state semifinals in Texas Stadium as a freshman.
A freshman in high school?
A freshman, yes, in high school.
And how did that go?
We got beat. No, we shouldn't have got beat, but we got beat. We had 2 punts blocked, and it was the team that beat us. They played really well, and we just didn't play well enough to win.
Did you play well? Did it feel like a good start for you?
Yeah, I mean, as a young kid, 12, 13 years old, going there, just over 50%, 2 touchdowns, an interception at the end of the game that we see the replay afterwards. It wasn't an interception, but they got it. It's kind of how the ball goes sometimes. That was way before instant replay. But I know it's not in high school, but that was way before instant replay came out.
Yeah, there's a lot of those high school stories that could go around.
Oh yeah.
So you're probably you said 12. You're probably 14 years old then, and you're being exposed to a lot at a young age. And then your sophomore year, did you start?
Oh yeah, I got 3 Division I offers after that one game.
Why? What were they saying?
Well, first of all, my size. Second of all, they could see that I could throw it. And I had great high school coaches that really tried to get your name out there if they believed in you and knew that you were going to handle business in the classroom and get your ACT score right. So, they really tried to help me out.
Do you remember who those 3 schools were?
I'm pretty sure the first one was Texas A&M. I don't really remember the other 2, but Texas A&M was the bigger of the 3.
I'm just wondering, what that does to your psyche at all. Like, you're walking to school, within months of each other. You're walking to school one day and you haven't started the game as a quarterback. A few months later, you have 3 D1 offers as you're walking the halls of the school. I mean, what's that do in your head?
Well, it wasn't so much different in school because I was always the same person. It was more like, I got to do these rivals interviews and whatever. There was some other like recruiting services, you know, and I just got tired of that. I was like, let me just go play ball.
So you've been dealing with this your whole, you know, career, like ninth grade on in high school,
pretty much.
Interviews, doing all of the stuff. I mean, and just as an aside, real quick, I don't know if you know, even somebody in my position, but certainly fans really understand how much that adds to your day. Like if you can just step back as a fan and you say, man, I've had a long day at work. Now I got to go home and I'm going to take care of the kids and I got to help them with their homework and do all that, maybe some chores around the house or whatever. Then you just add to that all of these extra interviews and stuff, right?
Right. And you don't ever know, especially at that time, there was no like set limits. And I don't know if there is today, but like I'd have people from all those different rival sites calling me, asking if they've heard from their school and like I just got tired of answering the phone. So I just stopped answering the phone. And if, you know, my parents made me do one, I would do one, but it wasn't my favorite thing. I just wanted to play ball, be with my teammates, go work out in the off season, try to get better and try to win a state championship.
So you're living in Texarkana at this point?
Yep.
Okay. Texarkana, Texas.
Texas, yep.
The Texas side of Texarkana. Who are you a fan of? Are you a college football fan at this point? Are there teams you really like?
Definitely. I mean, I was definitely always a Razorback fan growing up. You know, I parked cars there as a kid to get into the games and, you know, did all that kind of stuff. And
tell me about that.
For 2 years.
Tell me about the parking cars and what you did with the games.
But see, the only reason I did it was because it was helping my sister. Like, she was like in the band back in 7th grade. And I was probably 3rd or 4th grade. Well, if they helped park cars, they got free tickets back when the end zone had the grassy knoll back there. So we got to go sit on the grassy knoll, and I used to try to catch the field goals, but that was my way to get in the game without having to watch it on TV or listen to it on the radio.
And your family were Razorback fans when you were coming up, so it was.
Yeah, we've always been Razorback fans. I mean, we're from Arkansas, born and raised, and I feel like if you're born and raised in Arkansas, it's hard to be a fan of another school.
You spent a lot of time in Arkansas. You mentioned Salem at one point before living in Texarkana. Because I think that for people that don't know you, one part of their story is he was on the Texas side of Texarkana. But was that
I never lived in Texas, even in high school. We just lived on the other side of the state line. But my mom and dad taught in Texas, so I was able to go on that side of the line. And before then, so I went from Northeast Arkansas and then moved in 4th grade, or when I was 4 years old, to Northwest Arkansas. And we were at Lincoln. And then in 5th grade, we moved down to Texarkana, because my dad was a coach, and so he was always looking for a good opportunity.
So was your dad your high school coach?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
So
No.
Yeah. Okay. Well, why do you say it like that?
No, I don't think it would have been probably bad for me and him, because we're kind of the same. We're pretty fiery. The last time he coached me was 13-year-old baseball. And then after that, I went to high school. I was like, all right, because he was a junior high coach down at Texas High. So I was like, it's probably a good thing for me. Now I can not have to worry about him when I go home.
There's a lot. I mean, as a dad, I totally understand that. What was that like then? Maybe butting heads, and how did that change over the years, maybe to now? Because I know you guys are tight now. Yeah,
we did. I mean, it would always just be like during a game or after a game, you know. And it's like, to me, I was like, okay, I get that you're coaching, okay. But then when we leave the game, I don't like. We'll talk about it next practice. We'll talk about it next practice. But that's not how it goes when you're a coach's son. Okay, so you hear about it and you hear what you need to do better, you know. And I liked it. He always pushed me.
How did that help you prepare for other coaches along the way, being a coach's kid?
Yeah, definitely. Just being around, even just in meetings. I used to get to sit in some meetings and hear how they would talk and see what they were looking for in their players and what they wanted players to do. And so I always tried to put in the extra work, lift weights, run extra, you know, try to be a good teammate.
Tell me how you would sum up your high school career as you're getting into your senior year, especially, and you're having to make a decision in recruiting. I mean, what else going on with you?
Man, the only thing I really cared about was winning a state championship, honestly. I'd already committed my junior year, and it wasn't to Arkansas at the time, and it wasn't for another 2 years. So I got that out of the way, and I could focus on playing football, and we ended up getting beaten in the state semifinals again by RG3 when nobody knew who he was.
Yeah, looking back on that.
Well, in the track and field world they did, because he was running like junior Olympic hurdles, and he was their quarterback. So we had a hard time catching him.
Anybody else that you have a high school memory from that we would all know their name now?
I don't know. I think that
was that the biggest one.
That's probably the biggest one, just because it was so random.
Yeah.
And I didn't even know until later,
right,
who he was.
Yeah,
in like college, never had no clue.
That is wild. So back up to your junior year, you committed to Michigan.
Yep.
Okay, what happened with your favorite team, the Razorbacks, at that point?
Man, there was just a lot of stuff going on in the Hill, and I just didn't want to be a part of it. I wanted to get a fair shake because I knew my talent level, and I also knew like who was coming in and how it was going to go. So I made the best decision for me.
Remind me, what year are we talking about here? Junior year?
06, 07.
Yeah, everybody understands that was sort of the tumultuous end, at the beginning of the end with Houston Nuts. Otherwise, really successful era at Arkansas.
Right.
There were thoughts back then, if I remember correctly, because I've been around a long time now, that there maybe was some thought of you not playing quarterback at Arkansas, and that being one of the deciding factors for you. Not saying that you wouldn't have, but that they were.
No, that's funny though, just because I've always heard about that, and it came from the last summer camp. I guess it was before my junior year. Okay, maybe it was the next year. I'm not real sure. Well, I had been to the Arkansas camp for 8 years, so I've done all those drills. I just wanted to go catch the ball, and I wasn't really doing too much. I was doing like some one-on-ones. Okay, well, my coordinator from high school calls my dad because he heard about it. He said, nope, get him out of there. He better not get hurt before the season. So it got blown up to a way bigger deal than it was, because that had absolutely no part of me not deciding to go to Arkansas.
Yeah, that was the rumor back then.
I know.
Coach
you know how
Nutt,
sources and rumors and how that goes, man.
Coach Nutt wanted Ryan Mallett to play tight end, so he wasn't going to play tight end. He was going to be a quarterback. That's why he was going to Michigan.
Yeah, that's not true. Coach Nutt knows that. I never thought that, and he never thought that. I can't speak for him. I kind of feel like I knew how he wanted the thing to go, and it's not how it went.
Was that a tough decision for you, not going to Arkansas?
It was, going so far away, but those coaches had did such a great job recruiting me. I mean, they were after Michigan played Texas in the Rose Bowl, which was a month after the state semifinals that I played in as a 9th grader. Okay, the Michigan quarterback coach was asking the Texas quarterback coach, is there any guys down there? And I guess that was the first name that he said was mine. My high school head coach had a pretty good relationship with the Texas coaches. So I think it's the week after the Rose Bowl, he's at our school, and I'm a freshman. And I didn't know much about, I knew about Michigan, but I didn't know as much because I was still a younger kid. And every day that he could, he wrote or texted or called me from then on, when it was recruiting period, not dead period, and all that good stuff,
Wow, that's a serious commitment, and shows you how much they wanted you.
In the back of my mind, it's like they want me because they know what I can bring to the table to help their football team.
So you end up going to Michigan out of high school. Michigan, I think historically, is the winningest college football program of all time. What is that? Give me that perspective when you walk into Michigan and you're, this, especially being from Arkansas, and Michigan kind of feels like it's way over there, right?
It does. Yeah. It does, for sure. The biggest thing that stood out to me was running under the banner for the first game. Now, granted, we lost that game to Appalachian State, okay? And, they were expecting me to get in this whole second half, and I was going to get some snaps and all that good stuff. Well, it comes down to it, they block a field goal, ball game's over. But just running on that banner, and there's 110,000 people there, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Now, I think it's even more now with the new boxes they got in there, and they play night games. But to me, it was a pretty cool feeling being 18, 19 years old.
I know you've played in some cold games, but was Michigan, I said over there, it's actually up there, but was it some of the coldest games you played in college?
Not games, but days, yes. The coldest game I ever played in was in the Liberty Bowl.
I was going to ask you, what was the coldest you ever played?
That's literally the coldest game I've ever been a part of, I think.
We'll talk about that in a minute, because anybody that was there knows. It took hours after the game for anybody that was on the field or outside to thaw out, and fortunate to have a win, to feel better about it.
Right.
How would you say things went at Michigan?
I loved it at Michigan, actually. And my decision to leave was also a best decision for my career type move. That's what it comes down to. And even back then, there was rumors I was homesick and all that. I was like, no, this is the best decision for me. You know, as much as I love my teammates there, like I didn't see myself even probably getting on the field that next year with that offense they brought in when Rich Rodriguez came.
Yeah, and we'll get back to that in a second. But you got to play. Chad Henne got hurt, and you got to play. I mean, what was your experience like playing?
Yeah, I mean, well, I didn't play great. I was definitely a young kid still. I think the first snap I ever took, I fumbled. I swear, and we had some problems with that during training camp. So we switched centers to a right-handed center, which made me feel more comfortable. Now, I don't know if that helped the offensive line or not, but they was trying to make sure we got the snap. But the first game, I think it was Penn State, and we pulled out a W, the first one I started in. And so that was, as a freshman, that's big, especially that's a pretty big rivalry in the Big Ten. So,
and to get to the point why you left, the regular season ends, Lloyd Carr, the longtime, well-known head coach there, decides to retire. And that's
great, man.
That's when you decide to move on. Well, tell me what you learned from one of the legends of the game.
Well, he's been there. He had been there for a long time, so he knows and knew that I liked stories about hearing the old players. You know, I was a Brady fan even when he was at Michigan, and then he's at the Patriots, and I kind of followed his career. That's also another reason I kind of was trying to follow in his footsteps. Maybe not all the way to the professional level, but to his team. But you know, he was what I was trying to be like. So why not go there and see what's, you know, if I can do the same thing.
So you cherish those times, I'm sure.
Yeah, they would tell me stories about, you know, all the stuff he did when he was battling Drew Henson back in the day. And, you know, Drew was a better athlete, better whatever, but there's something about, well, I guess he was 10 then, something about 10 that, you know, made everybody go.
We'll come full circle with Tom Brady before this story ends. So you didn't go to Arkansas because you looked at the situation and thought, man, I don't know what's all going to happen there with Coach Nunn. I mean, all the stuff that was going on. You go to Michigan and you got a coach retiring, and you got a coach coming in who doesn't have really the kind of passing offense that might fit what your skill set would be, which makes sense that you would decide again to leave. But at this point, you got to be thinking like, all right, you know, there's a lot of changing going on in this college football world. So what are you thinking as you're deciding, I don't think I'm going to stay here at Michigan?
Well, I mean, I stayed through all the bowl practices, played in this, I don't think I played in the Citrus Bowl. Is it Citrus Bowl?
The one in Orlando? I don't.
Capital One.
Yeah.
Capital One.
That's
what it
in
is.
Orlando.
Yeah. Yeah, so we played Florida that year and beat them. So Coach Carr went out with the win, and like just after that game, I kind of felt like it was over for me there. Like just what I felt like that, you know, because it just about everything that was going on, and nobody was really had any answers about who we were going to hire. And then Coach Carr did something I thought was just shows what kind of guy he is. He signed my letter of release, so I didn't get stuck there no matter who they hired. So he signed it before they hired anybody. So I wouldn't get stuck there. Now, I could have just thrown that away if I wanted to stay there, and I easily could have done that. But after a pretty short meeting with Coach Rich Rodriguez, it was pretty clear I didn't need to stay there.
Yeah. That's a great story about a coach in Lloyd Carr. I mean, a lot of times,
shows what kind of man he is, man.
Yeah,
he's a great man.
I was going to say, a lot of times in the recruiting process, you can get told a lot of things. But I guess if I'm you, I that makes me think that guy did everything he told me he was going to do.
Yeah, and I don't think that it was just something he wanted to do when he retired. It might have been some health concerns why he retired. I don't think he got forced out of the door, even though we were picked, in the top 5 that year to start the year, and we ended up 10-2, I believe, or something like that.
So how do you decide what you're going to do next?
Well, that was another process, just kind of like the whole recruiting process. I was trying to wait to see at first where my offensive coordinator was going to go, because I knew he wasn't going to be able to stay. And then it was kind of taking a long time. I was like, I want to get in school and like get in a program. I was trying to get immediate eligibility to play next year. That next year, because of what everything was going on, and there was a few other things going on, and you know, we didn't get that. But while I'm waiting, I'm like, all right, I'm at least going to go home and get to where I can work out, because I'm not using the facility at Michigan anymore. So I'm headed home, waiting. And then I talked to Ben Cleveland, actually. He's like, man, you're coming through here. I know you are. I know which route you got to take. Just stop down here. So I did. And I talked to Coach Allen on the phone. I've known Coach Allen for a long time. Love Coach Allen, man. He's like, man, why don't you just stop by here on the way? So I was like, let me call my parents. And this is, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days after Petrino got hired, I believe. And so there's a lot of questions my parents wanted answered. They met me up there, and I think within the first 10 minutes of us talking ball, my dad was like, "Yeah, you can go here. Go ahead." So it was it wasn't a quick meeting, but, you know, they got their questions answered, and, you know, I'm sure they were excited to see me come back closer to home because there was a lot of long trips they had to take.
I think I know the answer to this, but give me the difference between the Rich Rodriguez meeting you had when he came in at Michigan and the meeting you had with Petrino at Arkansas that made you feel so much better.
Well, the first thing was Coach Rodriguez said, I know you're not just super fast, but you're kind of fleet of foot. And I was like, you have not watched anything of my film, sir. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going to go do the read option. I just told him, I said, I appreciate you, but my car was packed outside of Schembechler Hall. And I was like, when I walk out of here, I won't be back. He's like, okay. So that's how it went. So
then you meet with Petrino.
Yeah.
And how'd that go?
Well, I mean, I'd already knew the facilities. I had more questions about X's and O's and all that stuff. I wasn't really worried about the NFL stuff from before that. And then once he just put the film on and he was showing me some old Louisville stuff and how they did it. And I was like, okay, this is right up my alley. I can see myself in this system because I get to make a lot of decisions.
Well, it seemed like a pretty good choice.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he taught me a lot about ball for sure.
So it just seemed like a match. I mean, what he wants to do and the schemes and with your arm, I mean, were you sitting there going like, dang, this is going to be awesome?
Yeah, I did. And then, once I got there, I was trying to recruit anybody that they wanted us to get there, because I'd seen what kind of offense he has. And the better players you got outside, the better you can be.
So from day one, did you have any doubt that there would be some special days ahead for the University of Arkansas with him and you at quarterback?
I mean, I didn't, but it's also the process. It doesn't happen overnight. It never will happen overnight. That's why you see this coaching carousels, and I'm just like, he was there for 2 years or something, So it's definitely a process, especially when he's got to get the people he wants in there for his type of offense, and he knows what kind of players he wants. And that's what he did over his first 3 years is he got a bunch of really, really good players in there.
You wanted to become immediately eligible. That didn't work out. How frustrating was that year you had to sit out?
That was the worst year for me in college probably because you go to practice, and some people are going to be like, oh, you sound arrogant because you're going to practice but you can't play. Well, I just played in 11 games as a freshman, and I think I started 4 or 5 of them, so I was hungry. There was blood in the water for me. I was ready I needed more, because if you go back and look at my football career from high school on, and I wouldn't say in the pros because I didn't take too many snaps, but every year I got better, and every game I would get better as far as seeing stuff. And I was more of not learning during the game, but it was easier in the game for me than it was like in practice, if that makes any sense, because everything just slowed down during the game.
Well, it's interesting because in football, guys only practice so they can play. I mean, you don't find too many people that love practice, especially if there's no game that you eventually get to.
Right. That's the hardest part, especially when you love to practice, because you like to see what works and what you can do. Because if you try something on the game field you never tried in practice, that's not good. So if you try something in practice and you've done it a few times and you do in the game, and then you got confidence in yourself to do that.
Did you learn anything from that experience that has helped you at all in other situations or in life because that was hard on you, right?
Yeah, just being patient. I'm still not the best with that. It's just when you see something and you know what's right there and you can't grab it, type deal.
Yeah. I imagine that's helped you as a coach, probably helped you in the NFL some. It's tough on anybody.
Yeah, I mean, as a coach, it definitely helps because I understand especially in practice, the drudgery as it's called when it's late in the fall and the games haven't started yet, and these guys are like, I just want to hit somebody else in another color, and I get that now. It took me forever to get that because I always wanted. During practice, I wanted exactly like you were going to do it in the game, so I know. Okay, and I had a bunch of guys that would do that, and they knew that's why I wanted to do it. And if I ever yelled at practice something, it wasn't because I was mad at them. It's just because I wanted it done how we're going to do it on Saturdays.
2009, it's your year. You get out of your transfer year. You're ready to play. Your first year under Petrino. And what do you remember about that first season starting at Arkansas?
We made a bunch of mistakes, young player mistakes, and we could have had a better record. Okay, I don't think that any of us were expecting to go win the national championship that year. We knew, okay, this is a process, and we're working towards getting up there and to getting to that point. And so I think we attacked every day that year, trying to get better, trying to get his system down to a T, kind of like we did that next year, to make us better.
I remember sitting.
I think we played like I think 4 of the receivers were sophomores, and this is only my second year eligible. So we were still that's still a young player for college.
Yeah, you had a bunch of great plays. I mean, probably not happy with yourself at the end of the year on certain things, and your completion percentage went from like 55 to like 67 or something like that. The second year you were starter. But I do remember sitting in the press box vividly, watching Georgia play you in Fayetteville, and just thinking, by the way, this is a time when Razorback fans want to see the passing game. There have been this is after DMAC, and then the Houston Nutt stuff, where people it was a time where the pass was becoming a big thing. People wanted to see more of that, and the ball is in the air, and I just remember like you were throwing bombs to Greg Childs. I mean, it felt like you would launch it from your own 30, and he would catch it like 60 yards later, like run underneath it. And people,
I don't know about it. I don't know if it's that
just
far,
but people were going bananas.
I mean, it's fun when you got guys that can go do that. Like, you don't have to be perfect if you have guys like Childs and Wright and Joe Adams out there. You don't have to be perfect a lot of the times,
What did that feel like, though, when you stand back there and just let it rip and throw it as far as you can, and somebody just runs and gets it?
Yeah, I mean, you can't beat that feeling, because if all else fails, if you get one high safety, you better throw it outside to Jarius or Greg, because they'll go get it. So it gives you a sense of comfort for sure.
You had some big games. You won 4 of your last 5 games to finish off the season. You were a first-year starter. We mentioned that, and you actually play at #1 Florida, and you lose 23-20. You had tough games. Like, what do you remember about that game?
I just remember that BS call they called on Malcolm Shepard when Florida came back. I was like, you got to be kidding me. Pouncey was about to hit Malcolm. Malcolm was protecting himself. And now, listen, I know you can't blame officials for games. We made our own mistakes. But to go down there and you got #1 on the road, or we're on the road, and you got them reeling, and they know, like, this ain't the same Arkansas team from years before, that's a good feeling. But, to be able to finish that off would have been even better.
Yeah, that was I could see when I asked you that question, man, you just like...
Yeah, it make you sick, man. It's not every day, you get to go after #1.
As you're starting in this first year for the Razorbacks, I mean, to be back in your home state, and you are having some success, and it does feel like, at least I think you tell me, did it feel like you were bringing the program back into the, sort of that pride for the state?
Well, I don't think it was me. I think it was the collective group, because we had guys going out there playing hard, understanding why we were calling plays or why I would check a play, okay? And that's why I didn't hit the ground very much, because I made sure to check the blitzes and get myself protected, So you can never be successful playing on your back. So we had a young line the first year who was older the second year, which is even better, because that's 2 years of us playing together. So they're already anticipating me making this check, because they see it too. So when you got guys that love football like that, and they're hungry and they understand why you're doing something, it makes you feel good. But just to see the Razorbacks, we felt like we knew that second year we had a chance to win it all. After we finished 8-5 the year before, we knew we had the chance.
Was it hard for you as a quarterback playing for Petrino?
Yes and no. I mean, there were some days it's just like, I'm so tired of hearing it, like blah blah blah, especially during camp, because coach is always going to be harder on you in camp, and we had our share of headbutts. It is what it is, but it wasn't over loss of respect. Maybe difference in opinions, but not over a respect thing. So he always knew that I would never undermine him or do something on purpose, so it was definitely hard. Now, it was also great because he put you in great situations, and he's a great play caller. And so that helps you out when you got somebody that's calling the plays that, they're anticipating what the defense is going to call.
Did you like him most in games?
Sure.
Was that the best time of the relationship?
That's why I just didn't have, he had so much more stuff to worry about on game day most of the time. So I didn't have to hear it as much, unless it was just really bad. So yeah, game day was like my favorite day.
Well, not that you wouldn't have thrived under somebody else, but it just seemed like, again, that this worked well, and that you were fit for him.
He put the pressure on me, and that's what I like. Okay, like he pushed me. Like he gave me different stuff to think about, during the summer and then he would ask my opinion, or we would talk about it and see, if one of us liked it more than the other one, or how I felt about it. If we didn't like it, we'd scratch it.
That match for you, I mean, growing up with football, and I think your size and your arm and your confidence, and sometimes, when you speak your confidence, that maybe in the past it's overshadowed how smart of a football player, IQ-wise, football X's and O's you are, which Petrino said many times throughout his tenure here. But but was that part of it? Like if it had been another coach and you weren't challenged in that way, you seem to thrive on that.
I understood defenses. I understood, that part of it, but he took it to another level. Okay, hey, if you're getting this front, expect this pressure on this down and distance or whatever. So it was more like a NFL type of film breakdown and what we were, really contemplating on or looking at, and trying to get our job done the best we could.
What was 2010 like after you've got a year under your belt with Petrino, and now you guys have a lot of returners, people know what they're doing? What do you remember about 2010?
Well, the season or leading up to that season?
Yeah, sure. Start there, leading up to the season.
Well, leading up to it was rough for me because I had 2 surgeries that off season. Well, it ended up being 3, and I didn't start really walking again until 2 weeks before training camp. So I was doing a bunch of pull work, and I wasn't being able to get a lot of field work in per se. Like I was doing some field work in the pool, but it's just not the same. Now, coming into that training camp after my first practice, I was like, okay, I'm in way better shape, after all those pull workouts. So I'm ready to go. And then I wouldn't have any problems with my foot or my shoulder. So I was ready to go. Once I had that first practice under my belt, I think everybody knew it was go time.
Well, it took off pretty fast and went pretty well. I mean, what do you remember about how the season went?
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple bumps early. The Alabama game, I mean, the throw at the end makes you sick because I'm trying to throw it out of bounds. Like, I wasn't trying to throw it to my receiver. Dre Kirkpatrick comes back and makes a great play, and that's the ball game. So it makes you sick because we're driving. I think it's under 3 minutes left. We're driving down, go ahead, score. Okay, so that's on me. And we get to Auburn, okay, and then they say I got concussion. So I can't play the whole second half. That makes you sick. So once I got back on the field, I was like, okay, ain't no messing around now. We got to win out to have a chance. So, I think we did. So it was just one of those things, the ball bounces the wrong way against Bama, and then Big Nick Fairley got me and my head slammed against the ground one time. So, there's 2 things I can't take back. Do I want to? Of course. I wanted to go 12-0 that year, but it didn't happen.
But it was still a great year. I mean,
yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, no doubt. No doubt, man. Playing with those guys and just the camaraderie we had, that's what made it really fun because nobody was worried about next year in the NFL or none of that. Everybody just wanted to get that crystal ball, so that's what was exciting.
Was it special as a kid who loved the Razorbacks? Did you ever think about that, or have you thought
that gave me a little more incentive because I just wanted the Hogs to be great. I just wanted them to get back to national, prominence and stay there. That's what I was trying to help be a part of.
10-2 is the regular season record, and you get the second 10-win season since Arkansas has been in the SEC. There's only been 2 of those, and you had one of them. You think about that? I mean, is that something that
I never really thought about that? Because, like I said, the goal that I had for the team that year, we didn't achieve that. So, yes, winning 10 games is amazing for a program. You ask any one of those guys, they'll tell you we were in every game that year, and we could have won any game that year. So, it's just one of those things where you didn't get it done.
How much fun were you having?
Oh, man, we were having a blast. Like I said, we were so close. All the guys were so close, and I think all the receivers would come watch Thursday Night Football at my house, and we'd kind of talk about stuff that we had in the game plan, and it was just, I mean, it was a special time to be in Fayetteville for sure.
Did you enjoy your time in college at Arkansas? Like overall, not just football, but the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I love Fayetteville. I grew up 20 minutes from there, and I've always loved it. But like I said, just growing up and being a fan of the Razorbacks, and you get to go play for them, yeah, it's fun.
Is there some negative that comes along with being a Razorback celebrity?
Well, I don't know about celebrity, but being the face of everything, you know, like, yeah, you get looked at different, and you know, you ask me, I don't care. I'm here to play ball.
How much did it wear on you, though? Really, I mean, your whole life you've been dealing with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just try to stay out of the way. You know, especially during the season, stay out of the way. I'll be out running around, all that good stuff. So, you know, I think we all did a good job with that those 2 years we were there playing.
Yeah, I mean, you stayed on the field. You get to the LSU game. Do you know going into the LSU game in Little Rock that if you win the game, there's a good chance that the winner of that game is going to a BCS Bowl, the Sugar Bowl?
Yeah, I think, see, I'm trying to think back if we knew exactly what bowl game it was. I think, like, something had to happen and we win, or I don't remember right now. But, you know, once we won, they started playing Pour Some Sugar on Me. I think it was pretty ingrained that we knew where we were going then.
So what about the play before halftime?
I mean, listen, I'm not going to lie. I was just as surprised as you guys when he called it. I wasn't expecting that. But he called a great play because they came out in the perfect defense for us. That safety came down on DJ. We just popped it over his head, and then, 11 did the rest. And then he got a great downfield block from Jay Wright. So I got him trying to teach my receivers downfield blocking because you see plays like that, and it's the difference in the game sometimes.
There was a lot of that year.
Yeah, I mean, Jairus Wright is the best downfield blocker as a receiver I've seen in a long time.
At that point, did you feel like, oh, this is going to be a good night? When you were able to get that unexpected touchdown before halftime?
Yeah, I mean, we were just worried about, well, after the game, we just wanted to know who we were going to play and if we were for sure going to be in the Sugar Bowl. You know, that was a big part of it because it was still kind of up in the air, I believe. And then when we got the draw, Ohio State, I was juiced. Oh, I was juiced. Because I didn't really get to play in the Ohio State-Michigan rivalry. Now, I know that's not the same, but coming from Michigan, you already hate Ohio State no matter what. I mean, there's nothing changed about that.
Have you ever been nervous playing in a football game?
I don't really get nervous, man. When you're prepared, there's no reason to be nervous. That's why I try to tell my kids. I was like, if you're prepared and you know who you're going against and you know their tendencies and you know kind of, you know, what they're doing, you shouldn't be nervous. You just be ready to go play and then go put your best performance on the field.
How prepared were you in college in every game you went into?
Man, every game I think we had our game plan down pat. You know, it wouldn't have mattered if I wanted it like that or somebody else wanted that because Petrino wanted it like that. So, you know, perfect Thursdays is what we used to call. The ball should never touch the ground. And I only remember maybe 2 Thursdays in 2 years where it hit the ground.
And you really?
Yeah,
literally. And
yeah.
that's throwing a lot of passes.
That's like team 7-on-7. You know, when you're going against a defense.
That's a lot of balls in the air too.
Yeah, especially in that offense.
Yeah. That's right.
I think there might have been a few days we told the DBs, like, listen, this might not be that clean yet, so don't touch the ball.
I mean, I think, you know, it's interesting is I want Razorback fans to understand Ryan Mallett for more than, you know, just seeing what he did on the field. Like behind the scenes, do you feel like you were committed in that way? I mean, you certainly look like it on the field, and you're telling me you're prepared.
Definitely.
But I mean, who were you? You know,
my classroom during football season was in the quarterback room, and that's where my classroom was. You know, I would meet with my teachers before the semester started, tell them, like, listen, tell me what work I need to do. I might not be there every day because I'm working on something else for me that's more important in my career. You know, and for the most part, that was okay. You know, because I always got my work done, always turned it in on time. So
you did okay in school?
Oh, yeah. My mom wouldn't have it any other way. She's a teacher.
Yeah.
Like, she'd be the first one on my butt. I wouldn't have to worry about the coaches.
So you knew always, even if you were going to go about it in a different way, that the schoolwork had to get done at every level.
Yeah, no question. No question.
Are you thankful that you had a mom like that? Would it have been easier? Can you see where some guys find themselves in a bad spot?
Right. Right. I mean, I played with a bunch of guys in high school that probably could have played for the Hogs, if they would have took care of their work in school and ACTs and stuff like that. Now, she pushed me. I'd already qualified with the NCAA clearinghouse, and she wanted me to take it again because she didn't think my grade was high enough on ACT. And so I finally got my offensive coordinator to tell her, like, listen, I'm good. There's no reason to do this. Like, there's no reason to go take it again.
Did you ever feel pressure?
There's always pressure. I mean, but like I said, for me, the pressure came from myself and from my coaches. Okay, that's the pressure I felt. So people ask me, like, during the game, like, was it ever loud, like any of that? And for the most part, the only thing I would ever hear is just white noise in my head. It's almost like an old school static on the TV. Okay, that's what I used to hear. Now, after we scored against Alabama on the wheel route, like after we scored, now that place was electric. There's no way you can't hear that.
Is that as excited as you've been in a college game?
I was calm. I just walked off the field. I didn't get too excited. This is after the year before I would get so excited and just be out of gas at the end of the game. So I had to work on that the summer before, just like, all right, keep your emotions in check. That's probably not my downfalls. One of my negatives is I play with it on my sleeve. Okay, that's not always a good thing, and not a lot of people don't always like that. But I didn't care because all I cared about was winning the game.
Yeah, that's part of who you are. What would you say your number one attribute was, especially in college? Your personality that you brought to the table.
And I feel like I could just get guys to go. That's what I felt like. I could get them to go, and if we needed extra time, if we needed to spend extra time on the field or in the summer or whatever, I never really had any resistance from that.
That's a good character trait for a quarterback, a leader for sure. So you play Ohio State in the Sugar Bowl. You're excited to just talk me into that game and then take me through the game.
Yeah, I mean, I had a little extra in me for that game from the Michigan thing. Okay, and we came into the game with a great game plan. Okay, we didn't execute our game plan very well in the first half. Okay, they get up on us. But the thing that was resilient about that team is we came back on the second half ready to go, chip away at the lead, stop them, chip away at the lead. And that's kind of how that game went. And then we block a punt and fall on it. And next play, they brought a blitz we haven't seen all year from them. And they got us, They out-schemed us.
Yeah, that's a great perspective. I mean, that's from a fan's perspective, you either throw a touchdown in or an interception. But
but I understand because I've watched every game they played throughout the whole year, multiple times. Okay, they never dropped a 3 technique back into zone coverage, So they got us on that one. You can't get them all. You can't out scheme everybody.
I just love that perspective though, because what I'm hearing from you is that's just what happens in the game sometimes. You can prepare.
Yeah, definitely.
You can prepare everything, and then sometimes it just happens the other way because of the chess match.
Definitely. Yeah, that's what it is. It's a chess match. Now I can understand if I threw it and it got tipped, or I threw it and whatever. But for my rules for that play, if we get blitzed, that was my hot side. So that's what I did. I did what I was coached to do. And as much as it does suck that I threw a pick, I can't do nothing about it. People ask me all the time, well, I'm like, well, that was 10 years ago, so I can't change it now for sure.
Yeah, and so what was it like in the moment? You're obviously bummed out, but were you thinking that at that time?
Well, at the time, I was just, kind of hurt, just upset. You want to win that one. Big stage, prime time. You got a really good team you're playing against. I do remember walking off that field, and I don't know why I remember this so vividly. I was walking by one of my teammates to the locker room, and I look up because I was not looking up on the way out, and there was a horse right there, and I was behind it. I was like, okay, this could be really bad. And so I just kind of started scooting away, so I didn't want to scare her. I was like, I'm going to get kicked by a horse. It was on the police horse. And so I was a little nervous about that, but that's one of the things after the game, within the first 10 minutes, that's one of the first things I just remember, whoa, it was just crazy.
You about walked into the rear end of a horse with your head down.
Yeah, because if I would have walked and probably hit him, he probably got scared and kicked me. So I'm glad I looked up at that moment. So
that's awesome. I know it was a tough way to end your Razorback career, but as you look back on it, what were your thoughts on your career?
I mean, it was decent. If I had stayed that third year, like there wouldn't be a record that would stand or be broken for a while. You know what I mean? It just, unless I got hurt or something, like it'd be up there unless you had a 4-year starter at some point that threw the ball like we did.
Do you regret that?
I don't know if I regret it. I kind of now, like, just looking back, man, what if? But you can't think of it like that. But that goes in through your mind sometimes. Like, what if I did come back with my boys? And I think one of the, not major decisions, but I was losing 3 or 4 offensive linemen also. And like, it wasn't just a rebuilding year, but I just knew where it was at, and I just, like I said, I had to do what was best for me at that time.
What else were you about to say that you think about your career at Arkansas? Was there something else? I
enjoyed my career for sure. Was there a few games we left on the table? 100%. And those ones that we could have back you'd probably alter the history of Arkansas football.
Well, I'm looking at the last year you played, and I had to do a double take doing this research, and I was like, you're ranked in every game you played.
Yep.
It's been a minute.
We fell the furthest after the Auburn game just because it's our second loss.
21st in the country. You were 21st or higher most games, up there in the top 15 a lot. I mean, that seems like an ancient memory.
Yeah, it does seem like a long time ago. I can't even remember all those. But
the thing about history is sometimes, it just gets sweeter and it gets more, you appreciate it more. The more years that pass.
The thing I think about more, especially these days, was just like how much fun I have with my teammates. Because we all had to go grind through camp, okay? But then once we started winning and you see those guys with smiles on their faces, like, it's fun, man.
And are the best years with your teammates in college, not that you don't appreciate all the other years, but like those high school and college years, where...
Well, there's a difference now, okay? There's a difference when you talk about that, because when you talk about college, there's some guys, and I'm not saying any of my guys that I played with, but there's guys that are worried about trying to get a look for the next level. See, in high school, like, there might be guys worried about that, but like the guys I played with, they just want to win a state championship, because our school had won one in 2002 when we were in 8th grade. So that's all we saw, and that's what we wanted to be. We wanted people to talk about them like we talked about those guys. So it's a more genuine feel for wanting to win, I think, in that situation. And so high school football is probably the most fun I've ever had playing football.
And then college, second?
Yes. Yep. High school and college.
And then your experience just from a Razorback perspective, growing up, wanting to play for the Razorbacks, didn't work out in the beginning, but being able to do it in the end and, have the school record for passing yards in a single season, 3,869 yards, another school record, 14 career 300-yard passing games. Those, you're on all the lists, right around there at the top, but in a short amount of time. But to do that, the team that you grew up with, do you ever think back on that? I know you're still young, but do you ever think back on that?
Yeah, just that goes to not pay homage, but it goes to just show you how those coaches we had at that time were invested in us because they saw how badly we were invested in the program, or how well we were invested, how much we wanted to be invested. Like, we wanted to be a group that changed everything around there. And, for 2 or 3 years we did, so that was, for us, it was pretty cool, Now, if we could have got it all done, it'd have been even better.
Let's go to the NFL.
Let's do it.
You spent 8 games and you started 8 games and appeared in 21 over a 7-year NFL career. What do you remember about the process? Just from college going to the NFL?
Well, on draft night, I was like, dang, unless something happens, I'm not going to be playing for a long time. That's like my first thought. Like, yeah, I was excited to play for the Patriots. But then it was like, you look at the greatest player to ever play. You're gonna be behind him at somewhere on that depth chart if you make the team. So it's probably gonna be a while before you get to play somewhere or anything like that, which was fine. I also, on top of what Coach Petrino taught me, I got to play for probably the best or one of the best head coaches ever to be in the NFL also. And so I learned a lot from him, even though maybe I was on scout team, because that's what backos do. They're scout team, but while I'm playing against his defense, I'm picking up on stuff and I can hear him talking about what they should have done or what they did. And it was a few things, there's stuff I didn't hear, especially or didn't know as a younger player. And the older I got, just hearing that and knowing that and then going to different teams, like it kind of helped me, talk to the coaches like when we played the Patriots or, what they kind of do or what they might be thinking.
Yeah, what an experience with Belichick and Brady. But even prior to getting drafted and having to wait to the third round, what do you think happened there? I know you must have been disappointed.
For what? I got to play in the NFL, man. Like, I wasn't disappointed about anything. Did I want to go in the first round? Should I win the first round? Absolutely. Absolutely. But I can't help what other agents are saying behind the scenes. I can't.
Yeah. You dealt with.
That's why I don't talk about talking heads on the TV much.
Yeah. Well, tell me about, just whatever you want to say about that. Because.
I mean, it's nothing to say about it because it's going to sound bad regardless. But I'm just saying, no matter what, if you're going to evaluate the film, you talk to my coaches, you talk to my teammates who were undeniably in defense of me, okay, with whatever was being said about anything. I'm not a leader. Well, I was a two-time captain, okay? I don't think a captain is somebody you don't consider a leader. Just stuff like that was getting put out there. And I'm like, well, these people writing these stories obviously didn't do any research. So it's frustrating, but I've had a great career in my mind just because I've been blessed, who I've played with and who I've played for and who I've been around, who I've got to know throughout this whole process. It doesn't even matter anymore. I'm just glad I got to experience it. Yeah.
So that stuff doesn't eat at you at all now. All the stuff you went through, the rumors, the innuendos, all of it.
It slides over my shoulder, man. People are gonna say whatever they want. You can't change it. Never can be able to, never will be able to. The people have their opinion of you, and that it either change or it won't, or stay the same. So that's kind of how I go.
So let's go to New England. So you get there, and is Brady somebody that you idolized, obviously. I mean, and then you went to Michigan for a little bit. So what was that experience like as you go into New England and you meet Tom Brady?
No, it was definitely fun because he knew I'm a competitor too. Now I don't know if I can say like Brady because he didn't want to lose. If I threw a strike against him playing wiffle ball in the locker room, he'd be pissed, type thing. I'm like, I'm just out here for fun. This is just wiffle ball and it's just me and you. It's it's no scores being kept or anything. But just being around that and seeing, how he worked in practice, how he worked after practice with the guy, with the guys he's throwing the ball to and picking up a lot of the little tips. He would give the receivers tips about how he wanted them to run a route and little things like that is stuff that I really try to pick up on. So if I ever got my chance, I'd be able to explain that to him.
So with Brady and Belichick, at the time you're a professional and you're just doing your job but did you know this is pretty cool? Now.
Oh, definitely. You got to know that's pretty cool regardless. Yeah. So the guys won 3 Super Bowls, I think, before I got there. Maybe 4, I don't remember now, but you get to sit there and listen to them talk. On Saturdays, we'd have quarterback meetings. Okay, well, he would come in there and show us all our bad plays from the week. Okay, so we try to nip that in the bud by getting him to tell us stories. We'd try to see if he'd tell us some old football stories before he got started. So unless he was just in a really bad mood, we could most of the time get him to start talking. But if we had a short meeting or something, or he wasn't in the mood, it's all right. Here's the bad plays of the week.
Best piece of advice that Tom Brady and or Coach Belichick gave you?
Here's my I don't think I really asked for advice. I would just kind of sit and watch and try to see if what I could pick up for him. And I picked up a lot of attributes that, I say some of the stuff that Tom used to say, I still say it, talking to teammates or things like that. But just sit and watch how they worked and watch them put a game plan together. Like that was a really neat thing.
How would you sum up? Take me through your NFL career, the things that you remember, the good and the bad, and just you kind of touched on it a minute ago, but you got a great perspective on it now. But how would you just sum up your NFL career?
I definitely could have done more. I knew I definitely could have done more, and after tearing my pec and having to go through that surgery and that rehab, like that was that just kind of killed me because I couldn't even throw a ball for 6 months or something like that. And, it was just a lot of different moving pieces, especially down in Houston. And it just, it wasn't something that I'm happy I was a part of or that went on. So
when you went to Houston, it looked like it was a good spot though, right? I mean, that's
what it looked like on paper. Yeah.
Yeah. And you got to play some, but, how would you say, like looking back at your NFL career, like if you were passing along some sort of insight to somebody else that was going into the NFL, what would you tell them about the NFL?
I just tell them put in extra work. Okay. Show up early, be late, stay late, whatever. And then from there, your skill set will help.
Do you look back at the NFL as some great memories?
Oh yeah, man. I met a lot of great people, coaches, people in front offices, trainers, equipment guys. Like I still talk to the Baltimore equipment guy every once in a while. When I know he's not busy, or I might shoot him a text or something. But it's the relationships you make throughout my career. That the relationships I made throughout my career was something that I really enjoy, and I'm glad I got to do that and be a part of that and meet some of these people that I'm still in touch with or I still talk to, or they'll shoot me a text, how's coaching going type deal, because it's not like that in every profession.
Yeah. I know we all have regrets, and I don't want to try to like pin you down on a regret or anything like that. But I do want to give you the chance to say, like, if you want to, like, would you have done like things differently? Like the benefit of hindsight and maturity and
that's right.
Age.
Hindsight's 20/20.
Yeah. But do you have any thoughts on that? Like just looking back, would you have done some things differently?
Yeah, like I said, hindsight's 20/20. I definitely probably would have talked to my head coach more and try to get more answers down in Houston. But other than that, that's all I'm going to talk about with that.
Yeah. So looking back on your NFL career, I mean, you played in the NFL, man. I mean, you said it earlier, but you got to start 8 games. Everybody's got expectations for everybody. We all have expectations of ourselves.
Yeah, I got my own expectations. And do I think that I lived up to my expectations for myself? Not even close, okay? Not even close. I think that going and sitting for 4 years, like, it kind of killed me. It was, you go to practice, whatever, you try to win practice player of the week because unless something happens to Tom, okay, he's not coming out. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like that year sitting out at Arkansas. That's why when I got to Houston, man, I was excited. I thought by the 3rd or 4th week I'd be starting because I knew the offense. It was new to all of their players. It was the same offense I'd been running in New England. And then that's where, trade pick or draft picks come into play if you play a certain amount of games for conditional picks and stuff like that. So, I guess I wasn't prepared for all that part of it.
So, yeah, it is a business. And maybe you didn't hit all the expectations you had. And a lot of us in life don't. But to get to start 8 games, appear in 21, have a 7-year NFL career, I mean, nobody can take that away from you.
No, and then, that's – I'm just proud to say that I lived my dream that I told my mom when I was 4 years old that I was going to play quarterback in the NFL. I don't think there's a lot of people that can really say that. Now, there is some, but I'm just talking about that kind of a dream, though. Like, I want to be such and such or such and such, but as a 4-year-old, that's pretty lofty dreams, pretty lofty goals.
What are your dreams and goals now?
I just want to be the best coach I can be, man. I don't know where it's going to lead me. I don't know if it'll be high school, college, whatever. I don't know. Right now, I'm just taking it one day at a time and trying to just give my Mountain Home Bombers a win this week.
Are you having fun?
Oh, I'm enjoying it, man. I'm enjoying it. It's a lot of fun.
I ask every Razorback this. At least I've been doing it for a long time now. And it's sort of a tradition on this podcast. I say, how do you hope And don't take this the wrong way. Like, I don't care what people think about me, but how do you hope that Razorbacks think of you when they remember Ryan Mallett?
I just, I'd like to be remembered as one of the best. I put in the work for that. We had the production for that, especially in that short of a time. Like I said, if I'd have came in as a freshman or stayed another year, like I'd have had 2 more years in that offense with basically the same players for the most part, So, I don't know. I just think in the time that we got that turned around, like just one of the best. I know, like, I don't know. Can I say my best Razorback? Because it's hard to beat D-Mac now. He was special. He was special. So I think that he's the top spot as far as that goes.
Well, listen, no doubt you are one of the best ever. I mean, there's no question about that. And again, something that nobody can take away from you. Not that anybody would want to, but that also gives you you can come back, to Arkansas and hold your head high over your time, right? Does that mean something to you?
But I also love, the state of Arkansas, and I love living here. It's part of my history. It's part of me, and I love being in Arkansas. Now, is it always fun? No, not all the time, but it has its ups and it has its downs.
So tell me what your life's like. Like let us in behind the curtain for a second. What's Ryan Mallett love to do? Who is he? Who are you? And what's your life at home like? And what do you like to do for fun?
Yeah, well, right now it's football season, so that's all we've been doing. We've been on it. Other than that, if I get a free day, I'll come see you on the lake again. We'll go to Jackie's and get some pizza. Living over here in Mountain Home, though, I've got access to the river, the lake, or multiple rivers, and I love to fish and hunt. They got some great golf courses over here, and some that are like Branson's not far. So, like in the spring or summer, I get to do what I love to do. So I can't beat that.
I'd say it's been a pretty good life, and maybe the best is still to come.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, I'm happy for you, man.
I appreciate it, Bob.
And I really appreciate you coming on and doing this.
And no problem, man.
Yeah.
Anything for the Hogs.
Yeah, well, no, we want to tell your story. I want to document you. I want to honor you with a story about your life and your perspective on all of that.
I got you.
But
it's just something you can't beat putting a Razorback helmet on, though. Okay, because if I had a Michigan helmet on, you wouldn't be talking to me right now. Or I kept the Michigan helmet on. So no, I'm just giving you a hard time, big dog.
Well, no, it's true. Like, we're from a business perspective, we're taking these kinds of podcasts to other schools so they can tell their stories. I'm not hosting them, but we're helping produce them. And
right.
And what you learn is what people have always said, right? Like, even if it's a bigger school, maybe even a better tradition or whatever, people don't have the same care factor around the country, especially per capita, right? I mean, tell me about how much Razorback fans care.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're basically the professional team of Arkansas, you know what I mean? Because we don't have another one. And plus, I mean, I don't know what it is. When you're born, okay, and you're about 2 or 3 years old and you're with your grandpa, your mom, or your dad, and they put the Hog game on Saturday, you have no choice but to watch. And then you start loving it. So, I mean, I kind of think that was a part of it. My grandfather was the biggest Hog fan. So I used to sit, if the game wasn't on TV, we'd sit on his old 95 Oldsmobile and listen to the games on the radio. That's awesome, man. Is there some of the great memories you have from your childhood? Oh, yeah. Definitely. Just all the games I've seen that it could have gone one way for us and it bounced the other way, and then some that shouldn't have gone that way, and then it bounced our way. So it's up and down being a Hog fan, but when you love it, you don't go anywhere.